then your dog will shed a lot. You will need to use a deshedding tool like a Furminator. This is a saw blade tool that's in a piece of wood, and that's actually meant for horses, but we also use it on flat-coated dogs like Zero. So flat-coated is like that short coat, and it sheds a lot, and this kind of stuff will help remove some of the dead hair. And that's another type of stripping tool that you can use. So any of those things you can get from your local pet store. What you want to do is hold the skin taut and gently pull the shedding tool through the coat. You have to be careful in areas like around the armpits and around the legs, and if there's any rolls around the neck. So if they have loose skin around the neck, you want to pull it tight like what Heather's doing right now, so that the blade doesn't get caught and pull the skin.
Zero has just had a nice grooming, so he doesn't have a whole lot of undercoat, but as you can see, there is some little bits of fluff that do come off when you're pulling this out. So this is just the undercoat, and this is the stuff that you find in little tumbleweeds all over your house.
If you have a double-coated dog like a collie, a border collie, a Bernese mountain dog, then you will need to pull out the fuzzy dead undercoat. So Claire is not a double-coated dog. We don't have one with us here today, but we'll demonstrate using Claire anyway. So Heather right now has what's called a slicker brush. You can get those at any pet store. And she also has a comb. You need a metal comb. They seem to stand up the best in the dog's hair. So Heather also has a deshedding tool. It looks similar to what we were using on Zero, but it's a little bit different in the sense that the teeth aren't quite as fine. So all three of these tools can be used to remove that sort of fuzzy, fluffy undercoat, and that's what you see lying around on your couch and your carpet and your pants, and that's what you want to remove.
So the technique for doing a double-coated dog, since we don't have one yet, we're going to pretend that Claire has a really long coat. So pretending this is her body hair, I would brush this up with my hand, hold it up, and start with layers. And you just start using layers, and you just brush these layers out. So if you were to come with a knot in this coat, you would hold the hair, hold the base of the hair with your thumb and your finger, and just comb that knot through. And it doesn't hurt the dog then, even though she's trying to tell you it does. It doesn't actually hurt the dog. And you do get the knot pulled out. And if it is with us, like these tools can be a little bit, they look brutal. They're not, as long as you're careful with them. And if you just pull it through the coat, it will pull out some undercoat. As you can see, even poodles do shed. It just doesn't come out. It just stays in the coat till you actually comb it out. So you can see that you can pull. This is the kind of hair that causes the big old mats in the butt hair and the chest hair and behind the legs and tail and that sort of thing. So those are the things you want to, we get a lot of dogs in that are groomed, and they're like really well groomed down the back. There's not a mat at all in this coat. And then you come to this hair and the hair around the rear end and the tail, and it's always matted because dogs don't like it. Part of it is because it's already matted, and it's really impossible to actually be comfortable for the dog when you're combing out those mats. So what you want to do is brush your dog every week or so to keep those mats out and to keep that dead hair from causing that mat. So if we had a Shih Tzu or something that has the long silky coat, most people don't have those dogs left in full coat, but they still get matted. Even when they're really short, they do get this little bit of undercoat that will cause a mat if it's not combed out. So once again, you would still use a slicker brush. You just don't, like if this were Shih Tzu hair, you would just brush it gently and brush the legs. You hold the leg, brush the leg. Sometimes they don't like it. A little bit of peanut butter, or they all like Benny's Bullies liver treats. So you break them into little tiny pieces. They don't know the difference between a big piece and a little piece. And then I always follow through everything with the comb, and that just makes sure that everything is out of the coat. So the poodle, she often doesn't mat, but they do come in matted, especially Bichons, because they do have a really soft coat. So once again, you would still use a slicker brush, and you would want to brush through especially legs and tails and these top knots, and with Bichon around their face, because they do get matted here under their ears because their face is so full. So, and then again, comb through, make sure it's combed through. And lots of times they don't like it, but like I said, make sure it's a quiet time maybe for you at night watching TV and they're half asleep. You see Claire, she's quite comfortable up here on the table because she knows this, and she knows afterwards she's probably going to get a treat. So she'll get up here on the table all by herself because she's going to get a treat. Doodles have a shedding dog, like a golden retriever or a lab in them, or some other breed. Poodles don't typically shed, like I said, but all the other breeds do. So you'll get this really curly coat, but you'll get it shedding, so the hair stays underneath. Like if most of them are longer than this little bit here. So all this dead hair underneath turns this into a great big mat, and then it's impossible to get it out. So if you keep grooming your dog, keep brushing your dog every week, at least once a week, thoroughly, with a slicker brush and a comb, you shouldn't have any trouble maintaining the coat until we hopefully are back in business in another few weeks. So, hold the skin, brush, I hold the foot, brush backwards. Sometimes they pull away, so if you want them, somebody can hold them for you. Sometimes they like to lay on the floor upside down or whatever makes them more comfortable, but make sure that they're brushed through thoroughly so that this hair coat, you should be able to get a comb through this coat without much trouble. These brushes, slicker brushes, are great for pulling out the hair, but also if you have a dog, say this is really super matted here and you're really going at that mat really hard, you can cause brush burn, it's like a scraping. Like if you brush your arm like that, you would see the little marks in your skin, and that's what it's like on a dog. So if you're brushing really hard at a mat, you can cause brush burn. So make sure that you are not brushing really hard, and if you do find a mat, like I said, hold the hair with your thumb and your finger and comb out that mat rather than brush it out, and then comb through to make sure it's out, all the way out of the fur coat. I don't recommend cutting mats. I have been in business for 39 years and counting, and I have seen a few times where people have tried to cut mats out from behind their ears and actually cut the dog's skin. So you do have to be careful about cutting mats. Sometimes I'd rather see them there than to see somebody cut them out. We do use, there's no magical way of getting them out. We do use thinning shears on them, which helps to cut through the mat, but it's still, I would leave the cutting to us. I don't mind people bathing their dogs in between, because especially when you got a white dog, they're very dirty and gray, and you sometimes get ticks that you don't see on the dog, or a flea that you haven't realized that your dog has. So you would want to bath them at home, which is great. And we recommend you do use a dog shampoo because they have a different pH balance than humans do. So something mild, but give them a good bath, and towel dry them really well. And once they are dry, or even mostly dry, damp dry, it's a good idea to brush them out from top to bottom, make sure there's no knots. If there is a knot in there, then work it out with your comb or your brush. And otherwise, when they lie on their wet hair, just like us, it turns into a big knot, and it's worse after a bath.